Welcome back to another installment of High Five. I, as always, am your host, the one, the only, the second Irish Bandit. This week on High Five, we're talking about 5 reasons why you should be watching one of Canada's greatest exports, Trailer Park Boys, on Netflix. Now, I've always been aware of Trailer Park Boys back from the very beginning. I've watched a couple episodes in the past, and I enjoyed it for the most part. I didn't really watch every episode that was on, but just recently I decided to sit down and watch every season on Netflix, and I've been enjoying it ever since, like totally enjoying it. I'm up to season 9 on Netflix. I've watched the first movie, and I've watched one of the Christmas specials, the first one. First Christmas special, Say Goodnight to the Bad Guys, which was kind of the bridge in between season 7 and season 8. Watched that. I watched Out of the Park USA. That was really good, watching them go around different spots in the States. I'm gonna have to watch Europe. What else? Two other movies. SwearNet movie. I watched the SwearNet live intro thing to the movie, which was okay. It was funny seeing the actors who play Ricky, Julian, Bubbles, Jean-Paul Tremblay, Rob Wells, and Mike Smith, and then seeing the characters that they play try and interact with one another. That was quite interesting. I'll have to admit that one. But I've really been enjoying Trailer Park Boys. I think it's a funny show. It's not for everyone, I will say that, and it's definitely not for kids. But it's really good humor, and let's get into some of the reasons why you should be watching it. First reason I think you should be watching it is because of the underlying themes of loyalty, family, and friendship. So on the surface, Trailer Park Boys is about 3 guys who grew up in the same trailer park in Nova Scotia who are lifelong best friends. When you watch the episodes of Trailer Park Boys, you always have the same things. You have Julian, who's the schemer, Ricky, who's the idiot, and Bubbles, who is actually the smartest of the 3. And something always happens throughout this show that will separate the 3 of them. Ricky and Julian will do something that Bubbles doesn't agree with, and Bubbles is like, F you guys, and then he goes off, does his own thing, while Ricky and Julian do their own thing and get caught for it. But they always come back in the end. It always ends with, oh, I love you guys, and always like, who's got your belly? So it's something really nice to see. Like, yeah, you have these total morons going around swearing and drinking and smoking, doing drugs. Smoking pot, and I don't think they've ever done anything too harder than than pot. But underneath it all, you see 3 guys who just really care for one another and would do anything for each other. So you have that real tight bond between the 3 of them. And it's, you see that with the characters, but you can also see that with the actors who play the characters too. They have that tight bond too. So you don't get that by not being friends in real life. So I think that's just something really nice to see in that. You have all the idiotic stuff that happens, and then in the end it just kind of ties back together, and Ricky, Julian, and Bubbles are back with a bond stronger than ever. I think that's really cool to see. Another reason why you should be watching Trailer Park Boys is just because of the acting in it. So in addition to Julian, Ricky, and Bubbles, you have a host of great supporting characters. Like, you have the drunken trailer park supervisor, Mr. Leahy, played by the late John Dunsworth, who I kind of had a moment there when I found out that he played a character on the show Haven, which I really enjoyed as well. You had Pat Roach, who plays his assistant Randy, who refuses to wear a T-shirt. You have Ricky's on again, off again girlfriend / wife Lucy. You have her best friend Sarah. You have Corey. You have Trevor. You have the Julian wannabe. What was it? Jacob. You have Jacob. You have J-Roc, played by Jonathan Torrens. I was watching Jonathan Torrens on a show called Street Sense on CBC many years ago. And to see him in a role like this as white boy rapper from a from a Nova Scotia trailer park is absolutely hilarious. The acting is just incredibly stellar. Whether you have Mike Smith as Bubbles, whether you have Rob Wells as Ricky, who's falling all over the place and always getting shot, he sells it so well. Mike Smith brings that character to life. Bubbles is really one of the most likable characters that there is because he's so innocent. I guess he lives in a shed with a bunch of kitty cats. So, and then you have Julian, who's one of my favorite characters. He's just the stoic, always got a drink in his hand, always coming up with schemes. I've always said that since I've been watching this show, I want to be Julian when I grow up. All the tight black muscle shirt and the chains and the drink in my hand. Yeah, I'm gonna turn into Jacob. If you've seen Trailer Park Boys, I'm gonna turn into Jacob. Gonna dye my hair jet black, cut it like right about here, trim this up into a goatee that kind of goes out like this. But yeah, the acting in this is just top notch, and it brings you back in every time you watch an episode. And even the stories that they've had going on since the very beginning, since the showcase era, as I call it. Because I've narrowed it down to two different eras. You have the showcase era, seasons 1 through 7, and Say Goodnight to the Bad Guys, and then you have the Netflix era, season 8 and onward. So even all the way back to the showcase era, the acting has been great. The direction has been great as well. Whether you had Mike Clattenburg, who did it for the first 7 seasons, or the other directors that they had throughout season 8 and onwards, like even John Dunsworth directed an episode of Trailer Park Boys I've seen so far. Corey Bowles, who plays Corey, directed an episode. So that's really cool to see. And they've even had Sebastian Bach, former lead singer of Skid Row, in an episode or two. Maybe a little more than an episode or two. He was even featured heavily in Out of the Park USA. So just funny stuff to see. Another reason you should be watching Trailer Park Boys is something I talked with a friend about. Through all his idiocy, Ricky is low-key a genius. So I brought this up with a friend who absolutely loves Trailer Park Boys. In fact, she's even met all the main characters of Trailer Park Boys. Mike Smith, Rob Wells, and John Paul Tremblay. Shout out to Pink Twilight. But I brought this up to her, and she agrees. Through all his idiocy, Ricky is low-key a genius because he gets so many of the most common phrases wrong. Like, for example, you say worst case scenario, and Ricky will be talking about worst case Ontario, and what? But some of the things that he says is just, for as much sense as that didn't make, that made a lot of sense. I found myself to go, wow, that's kind of deep coming from Ricky. Guy who grows dope and I think is permanently immune to the high from so much dope he smoked. Kind of like Julian, he never gets drunk off of his rum and cokes. But yeah, this Ricky is just one of the best and well-rounded characters, and one of the most smartly written characters too. Because the writers of the show now are John Paul Tremblay, Rob Wells, Mike Smith, Jonathan Torrens before he left the series. So you can see why he's written so well, because the person who brings him to life is writing him. Unless they do like a thing with, for example, Blazing Saddles. When Mel Brooks was writing that, they brought in Richard Pryor, who didn't write anything for Cleavon Little's character of Bart. He wrote mostly for Mongo's parts, and if you haven't seen Blazing Saddles, that's a recommendation. You can't do a movie like that in this day and age, but you should definitely watch that one as well. But yeah, Ricky is just, he says stuff that you are like, what? And then you think about it, it's like, oh wow, that's really deep for Ricky. So that's one of the reasons why I really like Ricky. I think he is a great character, and like I said, low-key a genius. Another reason why you should watch Trailer Park Boys, hey, because it's Canadian. So yeah, this might be a little bit of bias on my part, seeing how, I am Canadian. But yes, Trailer Park Boys is entirely shot on location in Nova Scotia, Canada. All the actors are Canadian, from the main three characters to John Dunsworth, Jonathan Torrens, who, like I said, I've been watching for years on a CBC show called Street Sense. But yeah, proudly Canadian. They wear their Canadian on a sleeve on their sleeves, and it shows in everything they do, even in Trailer Park Boys Out of the Park. Um, yeah, what more can you say? Canadian through and through, and they haven't really sold out to the American mainstream. They've kept the show the same way as it has been from the very beginning, and they're unapologetic about it. And that's what I really enjoy about the show. They just really take pride in everything they do in the show. It's a very very DIY, do it yourself, and you gotta appreciate anything that is done that way. Like, the directors are completely in house. The writer staff, like I said earlier, just consists of the actors of the show. So it's very very nice to see that a Canadian group is doing so well and just taking off everywhere. And it's great to see. Just absolutely fantastic. And the final reason why you should be watching Trailer Park Boys, hey, just out and out, it is a funny, funny show. Whether it's one of Julian's plans going awry, something Ricky totally messed up in saying, or Bubbles just being Bubbles, you'll find some humor, or a lot of humor actually, in Trailer Park Boys. This, I've not had an episode yet where I haven't been smiling or laughing at something that's happened. It is just a very funny show, well written from start to finish. There's always something funny in it, whether it's, like I said, whether it's Ricky totally messing something up in, like, losing translation, or whether it ends in Ricky getting shot. It seems like every other episode, Ricky's getting shot. In the end of every season, somebody's going to jail. Doesn't matter who. I've watched seasons where everybody's gone to jail practically. Ricky, Julian, Bubbles, Mr. Leahy, Randy, they've all gone to jail. It is just an immensely funny show. Like I said, it's not for everybody. The humor is not for everybody. It can get downright offensive sometimes, but with all the swearing in it, I think this is reaching Scarface levels. If you watch a season, it'll practically be reaching Scarface levels of profanity. But stuff like that doesn't bother me. There's no real hardcore sexual content in it. Ricky doing something stupid is always funny. In the season that I'm watching, he made friends with a goat after his daughter gave birth to his grandson. I think that's what he called it. Yeah, grandson. See, he gets things wrong all the time, but it's really funny in the way he does it. He doesn't even realize it. So, yeah, Trailer Park Boys is a very, very funny show. Like I said, not for everyone, but I think you should at least give it a shot. If you haven't seen it, if you've heard about it, I think you should watch it. You'll find something redeeming about it. The reason why I didn't watch it is, I don't know. Not that I didn't have any interest in it, because any episode that I watched, I enjoyed immensely. It's just one of those things that didn't really catch on with me until just recently. So, but I'm glad I watched it. I'm enjoying it, and I'm gonna burn through everything. Like I said, I got 2 more movies to watch for the 2 Trailer Park Boy movies. I got the SwearNet movie that's kind of a meta thing that happens because Trailer Park Boys is taken off the air, and then they start their own web-based content service. Then I got like a bunch of live shows to watch. So I'm gonna get through it all eventually, and I'll let you know in the end what I think of everything. I'm enjoying the series so far, so that's the big thing. So definitely give Trailer Park Boys a watch. Alright, well, if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget it a thumbs up. What is your favorite Trailer Park Boys moment? Let me know in the comments section down below. Don't forget to share this video anywhere you can. Don't forget to visit the link below to visit the Irish Bandit shop. We have t-shirts, coffee mugs, travel mugs, stickers, phone cases for iPhone and Samsung. So you can get all your Irish Bandit merchandise there. I get a little tiny percent of the profits, but all that will go towards making this channel something bigger and better. And don't forget, if you're new here, to subscribe. If you're already subscribed, tap the bell and you'll be notified whenever I upload anything new or whenever I go live. Quick programming note: next Friday, WWE pay-per-view predictions return with Elimination Chamber predictions. And then I will be back in 2 weeks with another episode of The High Five. Guys, it's getting real hard to come up with episodes of The High Five, but I think for the month of March, I'm going to focus a High Five in on wrestling WWE content because I really want to get that going back on the channel. So you saw it recently with the Universal Championship review. I got that down there. I'm not going to pull it out. Boy, that sounded dirtier than it meant to be. I'm not going to bring the title out, let's say. So I think in 2 weeks, when the High Five returns, I'm going to have a list of 5 matches that I want to see at WrestleMania this year. And then 2 weeks after that, I'm going to do a list of 5 matches I don't want to see at WrestleMania this year. So we'll see how all that goes, but I will definitely talk to you again very, very soon. And don't forget, Irish Bandit Revolution returning very, very soon, May 10th, with a special live episode talking about 3 years on YouTube. So we'll get on that. We'll get all into that very, very soon. Until then, take care, guys, and I'll talk to you again very, very soon for another High Five.